Hello, SuperCoach fans. Welcome to the Inner Sanctum SuperCoach show for a look back at round 5 and then looking forward to a big Anzac weekend at round 6. I've got Mike and Mick with me. How you going, Mike?
Yeah, going all right. Another frustrating round, but yeah, getting better each week.
That's the way. And Mick, how you doing, mate?
Good, Scott. Good, mate. Yeah, a decent score this round, but the leagues just the league wins just aren't happening for me at the moment. I don't think I'm scoring too badly. I just can't seem to win in that particular week in my league. But excuses.
That's it.
Yourself,
we'll get stuck into it. We'll start with our traditional Garys and Nathans of the round for your side. So who really was you performed well, and who ones are you just with the Nathan Abelis just really despise and want to get out of your side if you can? Mike, I'll start with you. Give us one or both.
All right, I'll start with my Gary. He's finally living up to the expectation. Lockie Neal. I watched the game, especially the first half. So he was absolutely superb, absolutely everywhere, and was the reason that they dominated, especially in that second quarter. 37 touches, 17 contested, 170 odd points. I've got him in my team, but the unfortunate thing is my opponent had him as captain. But he was definitely my Gary, and it's a shame that Dan isn't here because my Nathan is this fella, right? Thursday night, Adelaide Oval, just like his shirt, he was absolutely ripped to shreds. Yeah. Jordan Dawson gave him an absolute bath, and in my other league, my opponent had Jordan Dawson as captain as well. So Cripps, he's averaging just over 100, but 80 on the weekend, absolutely pathetic from a side. Geez, if Dan was here, I'd lay into him too. They were absolutely atrocious. On Thursday night.
We'll lay into him next time. Don't worry, he'll be back next week. We'll lay into him.
That's right. I do want to give, and I thought it was a bit harsh to lay into a 5-gamer as my Nathan, but Samson Ryan from the Tigers, I brought him in, and I tell you, that many balls went straight through his hands. I reckon I could have caught the ball better than him. Unbelievable.
Yeah, 5 game is pretty harsh. What about you, Mick? How'd you go? Nathan's and Gary's?
Nathan's and Gary's, yeah. Yet again, I'm going to call. Hang on, what's happened there? Sorry, boys. There we go. Once again, as it was last week, I'm going to call him again as my as my Gary. The great man himself, the big Timmy English from the Doggies, of course. Another 139 he pumped out this week. He's just become so incredibly solid as a go-to ruck BC or C. So very impressed with his performance again. He gets plenty of touches, gets a lot of hit outs, he can kick goals. He's pretty much become the complete package. I think Timmy English is becoming one of the best top 2 rucks in the comp. I think quite easily. I have to say my Nathan would be Cam McKenzie from the Hawks. I didn't have him on field, but he's just he had the green vest this week, so didn't come on until late in that game, and only scored 14 points. So pretty disappointing. He was generating some good cash earlier on, and now his average has dropped down to 59, and he has a break even of, I think it's somewhere in the 80s at the moment. So I'm going to nominate him as my Nathan for the week and possible trade bait, I think.
Yeah, nice one. Well, my side, if you want someone to sort of sudden lose form, just ask me to put them in their side, and they'll lose form. I could reel off 50 Nathans, I reckon. Not quite that many, but my whole side. My Gary was Tug Miller. He's returned to form, got 127. I brought Davis Uniac, first time I reckon he's got under 100 all year. He's cost me. Brayshaw continues to just stink the hell out of it. I think he only got me 70 odd. I don't even know where he went. But my Nathan choice this week, I'm going a bit left field here. The reason I've got Bevo is that I've got Jack McRae. And even though he scored 112, he seems to be playing McRae in the forward line way too much. And no wonder the Doggies are losing and not doing so well. Put the bloke who's inside mid in the middle in there with Libber and Bont and let him get the ball out and score me 150s. I don't know what to do, whether I trade him. I'm getting pretty close to rage trading a Bloke who was the most dependable one for years and years, but he's only averaging 104. I don't know what to do. So, Bevo, sort it out, would you? Bloody hell.
Come on, Bevo.
So, yeah, there's a bit of a look at ones that have been good and not so good this round. We'll just touch on the dual positions. Mick and I talked about it last week, the ones that have been given dual position status who were single ones. So the no-brainers we talked about last week, Sheasel's gone from a forward to a forward/defender, and same with Jack Zeeble. And then the other one really, a lot of people might be considering, is Dave from Hawthorn, who's gone from defence to defensive mid. Mike, I might ask you, does that change anything now you know for sure that those guys are got their multiple roles?
Yeah, there's probably only one that stands out. I think Dave's got another week to serve of his suspension. You know, obviously, like 80% or 90% of teams have got Sheasel in my side. You know, your others like your Ben Keys is spending a lot more time down forward. Bailey Smith's now from a mid to a mid forward. I had a look at both of those, but they're only averaging sort of 83, 80 respectively, and they're priced quite highly at 500 and 450k. So, look, if you really got to be looking at those that are averaging 90 plus now in your forward, and there's not a lot of options down forward. You know, only 7 players averaging over 100. So, and 6 of those are dual position. So, I think Day, when he's back from suspension, may be the only one. But there's plenty of you're spoilt for choice when it comes to high quality defenders.
Yeah, Mick, what about you, mate? Any thoughts on those dual positions now they're confirmed? I know we chatted a bit about last week, but any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, Sheasel not so much for me. I've already got him in my forward line. So, and as Mike said, you know that the high price or high scoring 100 plus forwards are pretty hard to come by at the moment. So I'll leave him there along with Dunkley, Taranto, Rosie. Will Day's an interesting one though, even though he does have another. Mike's right, he does have another week left on his suspension, but he's actually he's priced at I think it's around what have I got here, 454, and he's got a break even of only 16 and averaging 101. So I think he's definitely going to be a target for me next week. After I'm assuming he gets named for the following week, but there'll be probably a couple of guys by then. You know, Mackenzie, as I mentioned before, that are going to be ready to trade out, if not this week. So I'll be targeting Day in my back line. Other than that, the dual position changes at this stage don't affect me, but I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I guess you're really thinking of those in terms of the buys, which I know are still 6 or 7 weeks away, but maybe if you've got ones that can swing from here to there, just if you need, that might be the only reason. Having said that, Sheasel and Zeeble are both in the same side, so that's not really going to make much difference. If you've got most people, or nearly everyone, have got Sheasel as a forward, obviously, because that's where he started, and given this lack of forward scoring that big, I think that's where he stays for most people anyway. So it's just a matter of there's some of those random other ones float your boat. None for me. I don't even want to pick Jack Zeeble because he's burnt me in the past. But those options are out there for people if they want them. That's for sure.
Yeah. Interesting that Liam Baker, the 5th highest scoring forward, is a dual position defender forward, only selected in under 10%. And I said 5th highest, he's averaging 104. So maybe a point of difference. Especially in the forward line when there's not a lot doing really good things consistently.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe you even just have him in one and Sheasel in the other, and then if you need to, you can switch them when those buys are on just to cover if you've got enough in one line, not the other. So might be something in that. Liam Baker spraying our sides. Watch his ownership skyrocket after the 150 people watching this all go with him.
Don't put him in, Scott. Otherwise, if I do, you watch his score plummet too.
Nonsense. Well, look, we're getting to that time of the year where a couple of the rookies are not getting picked. A couple of all of a sudden got the green vest on and scoring poorly. So I guess we should start talking about for the next week or 2 or 3 about which rookies we should be getting rid of at this point. So we'll start
Mike, just with you, just have a look and name any that you're thinking their time's probably up.
Yeah, I've also got to have a really good think about the likelihood to maintain their spot as well. You know, there's a number of them. You know, Mick already mentioned Cam McKenzie, Lockie Cowan's averaging 46. Oscar Baker, the last couple of rounds have been poor after his 95 in round 3. Are these guys going to maintain their spots? For me, the ones to hold, I think Ruben Jinby from West Coast is worth a hold. He's a tackling beast, although you know, Danger like to put the studs in and the fingers in the eye. Should be cited for that. I don't think he will. Of course, AFL love him too much. So I'll be holding on to him as well. I also watched closely Matthias Philippou from the Saints, who scored actually 56 in the first half, and I think he scored 3 in the second half. But he's definitely got some talent. I think he'll definitely keep his spot and potentially keep going up. The rest, Caminiti gone. He's going to get 3 or 4 weeks from the tribunal anyway. So there's a lot in my list that I want to chop, and unfortunately, I've only got so many trades.
Yeah, I guess you got to ask yourself, are they going to make you much more money, and are they worth keeping on the field? Like, ideally, I've always thought if they can get to 300,000, that's a win. And for a lot of them, they're sort of sitting there at that. Some are still 220,000 to someone. Even Alvin Davies 290,000. There's not many of them that have got to that 300,000 yet. And you have a look at their break evens. It only takes one game well above their break even to actually ensure they'll get to the 300,000. But what are you thinking, Mick? Any do you think definitely the chop this week? Who's the first gone for you?
First guy will be McKenzie for me. It's always the alarm bells always start ringing when they get thrown the green vest this early on in their season. You know, he's gone up by 83k, so he's made us a bit of coin. He was a more expensive starting player at 180 grand, so which is always a slightly more of a risk with rookies that are slightly higher priced above that sort of 130 140 mark, as high as 180. So I'll be putting him on the chopping block this week, I'm fairly sure. The other ones I would be considering was Cowan from Carlton. He's made a bit of money. He only scored 42 this week, but his break even still only 22. So there's a little bit more coin there to be made. You'd think he'd pretty confident that he'd hit his 22 this week. So I think he had a decent score a couple of rounds back, which is still in his 3-round rotation of scores. So his break even is still fairly achievable. Other than that, there's probably none that are jumping out at me as must trade. Oscar Baker's 53 this week. But he's still got a break even of 46, so it's not a must trade situation. I can't see any others.
I reckon Oscar Baker. Yeah. Oscar Baker's the one. Like, he's money can get to 300,000. I reckon for sure. Same with Cade Chandler, who's pretty close to 300,000. I reckon he can get there as well. So
yeah, he should. Yeah. If he gets another decent score, he's got a couple of. He had a 95 in his round 3, so that's sort of. If he can replicate that score again. I mean, all the other scores have been around sort of 40s, mid 40s to mid 50s. But if he can pump out another 70 or 80, then yeah, he'll easily get to 300k, and then we can look to upgrade him.
Well, I'm gonna throw one out there because I reckon the first one I'm actually going to trade, and this is going to sound silly, is the number 2 draft pick, Mr. Ashcroft from Brisbane. Not many people will. Most people will hold on to him, which means. I won't have him when others will. He had that 105 in round 2, and aside from that, I don't reckon he's been setting the house on fire. He's already up to 330k. So if I want to get some decent primos in there, he's the first one I reckon I'm actually going to trade out. I don't think he's one to hold on to, and he's not like an average 90, 95 anytime soon. I don't reckon. Averaging 80, so what? I'd rather get the blokes in, try and get someone in who can get me big scores. So he's actually the first one I reckon I'm going to give the flick. So
that's interesting. Yeah, his break even's only 44, so there's more coin there to be made. But if you're looking to get primos in now and start getting some league wins, then might be a decent strategy.
Yeah, you're right. He will make a bit more money, and you watch. I'll get rid of him this week, and he'll churn out 100 for you. So I'll lose. I'll probably lose a league win or two because he'll do well. But I just at the point where I don't think he's actually going to be like one of those gun recruits who actually ends up averaging 90, 95. So if he's not going to get there for me, I might as well. He's not making that much more money, I don't reckon. So I'm going to take the punt. So it's just something to consider for people out there. Which brings us to then, if you're going to get rid of these people, which rookies are, I guess, we need rookies to come in. We can't just trade, obviously, 200 and 300,000 blokes out for ones that are 500, 600,000. We need to do the old double trade, one up, one down. Mike, who you got a one or two in mind potentially out there for people who they could bring in if they want to?
Yeah, there's not a lot that are jumping off the page, to be honest. I think where you expect to make probably an additional 150 odd Ks from Luke Edwards from the Eagles. I mean, we're dipping into the second half of our waffle side to fill a starting 23 at this point in time. But scores of average of 67 after his first two, break even of negative 22. He should go up 30, 40K this week. Priced at 193, so you're potentially not going to make a lot of coin if you're sort of downgrading. But he's going to get games for sure. So especially with the run of injuries, so he'd probably be mine that I've got an eye on for this weekend.
What about you, Mick? Any other bubble boys out there we can look to pick up if we need to?
Yeah, and like Mike said, not really jump off the page. Dylan Williams from Port, he's played his two games as a break even of negative 43 and averaging 58. So that's not bad when you priced at 123. If you're looking to get someone out and get that cash boost, then he's probably your best bet, I'd say. Another interesting one though is Matt Roberts from Sydney. He's actually played 4 games, and he's only gone up by 5K. So his first couple of games were quite poor. He had 27, a 10, and a 4. Then he's pumped out 93 on the weekend. So whether that's just a bit of a blip in what his scoring is going to be, I don't know. But that's an interesting one to keep an eye on because he's still very well priced at 128, and he's shown that he can score quite well, but then also show that to 27, a 10, a 4 in his first 3 games. So probably not one I'd look at yet. A bit too much of a roller coaster ride, that one, but yeah, not many others jump off the page, that's for sure.
Yeah, I guess it just depends which lines you're looking to get rid of people. Matty Roberts is forward/mid, so he offers that. Whereas Dylan Williams from Port is only a forward. One that so Matt Roberts at the moment is the most traded in of people that are not in my side according to the website. The other one that's getting a lot of trading is only played the one game, Seamus Mitchell from Hawthorn. So he's made the 60, scored the 67 last week. He's defender/forward. So a lot of people are just biting the bullet and going a week early and bringing him in. So there are other options out there. If you want to have a crack at filling your ruck bench as well and not having the loophole there, I want to try and make a bit of money there, you could go Ned Moyle from the Gold Coast. Depends how long Witts is out. I guess if Witts is back this week, then you just can that idea. But he hasn't really looked like he could score too much. I don't know. Any of you watched Gold Coast the last 2 weeks?
No, can't say I watched it all too closely. I did watch the last quarter though. I don't think I saw him.
Well, that probably says enough about whether we should be looking to get him at this point. Watch him score 100 now. All good. So a few out there for us. Maybe it's worth just holding on and not trading as much as we might want to, based on the fact that there's not too much out there. I think a lot of people will go with Dylan Williams and Matt Roberts. So maybe we don't, just to be different. Let's see how we go. Dan's not with us again. He'll be back next week for his Rage Trade Corner. So we look forward to welcoming him back to the vent about Lockie Ash, Bailey Dale, and James Warple, and whoever else he's got lined up in the gun from next week onwards. He'll be back, but I did note that Warple managed to crank out 100 last week, so that certainly will piss him off, no doubt. Cool. Mike, what's your thoughts looking ahead to Anzac Day? Captains, vice captains, any other final words for us?
Yeah, it makes it hard when the rounds split over a few more days this weekend. I've been probably a bit too eager with my trades. I've blown a few over the last few weeks. So I think the advice coming into, the buy rounds are what, 4, 5, 6-ish weeks away. That's something to really consider as to how many trades you're using at this point in time, when you really want to be using a lot of those trades at that time. So my advice is to really try to keep the emotions in check before the round starts. And if you've got a full side, and unless you've got a really high break even, it's going to go down in value that you don't see keeping a position. I'd probably aim to hold trades so that you've still got plenty up your sleeve for those buy rounds, which I'll try and keep the emotions in check, but I'll probably be holding off if I can.
Fair call. Mick, what about you, mate? Looking ahead to this weekend?
Yeah, could agree more with Mike on that one about trades. I've already burned through 7, which it's probably, I don't know, that might be about the average across SuperCoach. I'd say, with a few corrective trades you make at the start of the season and the odd Den style rage trade. But yeah, this is guys that are going to be dropping huge amounts of cash. You obviously you want to cash out when those guys hit their absolute peak, and most of mine haven't, so I won't be looking to make any trades other than probably Mackenzie this week. And if he's not picked, I probably won't worry about it anyway until down the track. Captain style though, I think Timmy English on the Friday night is a pretty solid choice for VC. You want to get your captain in pretty early if you have Nick Madden as your loophole player, because the GWS do have the 3rd game of the week on the Saturday Arvo. So if you do want to use him as your loophole player, which I think a lot of us do, then it'd be wise to get your captain choice in the first 2 games. So which doesn't give you a lot of options because it's Freo, Doggies, and Port and West Coast. So maybe the likes of either English or Bontempelli, or if you're looking at
I could certainly do Andrew Brayshaw for the 4th time and watch him stuff it up and get his 70.
How he's still in your team is beyond me.
Because if you want, I'll put him out and he'll score 150. So
yeah. Look, this is also the week. Whilst you don't want to blow your trades, these are the weeks where your Jordan Dawsons and your what's the other guy's name from Adelaide? Rory Laird, your Dacosses, your Englishes. If you don't have them in your side, English is probably already too expensive. But those others, when they had slower starts in the first few rounds, these are the time where you want to get them before their price really skyrockets.
Yeah, the only one of those really is, compared to his starting price, is Rory Laird. He's 80 grand less than he was. Dacos is already up to 610. Dawson's 650 something now. He's the number 1 ring in the cop nearly. And English is already up to 670. So unless you're willing to pay the cash for those blokes, you're going to have to think outside the square. So my man Andrew Brayshaw is down to 540,000. So I might as well just stick with him. I know he's playing English, but maybe I could just give him 1 more week as the vice captain. No chance. All good. Well, boys, thanks for joining us this week. Take care to all the SuperCoach fans out there. I hope your teams can have a win on the long Anzac Day weekend, and hopefully we can all get a couple of league wins this week. It all relies on my man Evo. Take it easy, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, boys. Cheers, guys.